Hello guys, welcome back to another lesson with Rivera Fine Art Studios. In just a few moments, I'm going to talk about the experience that I had drawing this foreshortened head. And this is something that my students have asked me many times about: how do we figure out the proportions of a head that is foreshortened, either looking up or looking down, because we get major distortions. And in the lesson I'm about to show, I am talking about how we can actually accurately depict that using a cube with a grid on it. So if we can really conceptualize the head as a three-dimensional block, it becomes very easy to sort of imagine what the features would look like regardless of the positioning, and how the proportions are going to change regardless of the positioning of the head. As the video begins, you're going to sort of see me drawing out this very simple structure, and I'm going to be putting lots of lines on it and kind of breaking up the space with lines, and it's going to look nothing like a head to start with. But once I have all that in place, it's going to help guide me, and then very quickly it's going to start looking like a face as I add the structural lines and the features and so forth. And all of the content that you are about to see are clips taken from a live Zoom class. So I teach a number of classes online through Zoom, and for more information on that, you can check out my website, which is www.riverafinearts.com. I have a schedule of ongoing classes on that site. And then I also have pre-recorded classes, which I teach through my online school. And that site is www.riverafineartstudios.thinkific.com. Okay, so without any further ado, let's take a look at some of the footage from my video. Okay, and then I'm just going to go ahead and just start drawing in this really basic structure. I'm going to keep these lines very light. We have a little tilt here that I want to look at. And then I'm just going to also mass in where my side plane would be. And then I also have bottom plane. Okay, so I'm imagining that box tilted, looking up. And then even from here, I could throw in my cranial mass here too, as well. So there's no right or wrong time to do this. I could do this now. And then I can just go ahead and start to divide this up. So I still have my box, so I can find my X here. That gives me a center point, which I will then use. I'll throw a vertical line in there. And then if I look at my original the tracing that I did over the photograph, I can see that my eyes actually fall pretty close to this too. So again, I could do another X here. I'm essentially doing everything I already did. I'm just doing it a little quicker, and lighter. You'll see once I have all these lines in place, it's going to just really help me to break this up, and I can start to find my features very easily. So it might take a little time to get it set up, but it's well worth it. This is approximately where the center of my eyes will be. So I've divided that up now into 3 sections. The other thing that happens, and I have to come back to the photo to show this, is my ear. If we turn this corner, so here's my eye line.
if I take that line and when I get to the side plane, if I just drop this down in perspective, that's going to help me to find, the top of the ear. I think it's pretty close to that. It's a little further back, right about there. So I can take that information and use that in this drawing. Again, everything is taking the perspective into account. So all of my, these angles are based on a vanishing point. And I don't have the vanishing point drawn out on my paper, but I have a good sense of where it is. And I can start converging my lines. Okay, and then I have, let's see, the eye line. I already have that established right there. And then the brow line will be based on this last intersecting point right here. So lots of lines, lots of grids, kind of creating a grid essentially. But you'll see from this point, it's really going to be now quite easy to just plot my features into this. So we have these lines. These are going to be where the corners of my mouth are going to be. So this is the center of the eye here. And also it's going to indicate the corner of my mouth. So I'm going to now curve my lines down to find the placement of my mouth here. So I'm going to take that line on that side. I'm going to come down and find, on this side, this is the other eye. Drop that line down. That should get me pretty close to the corner of the mouth over here. Chin is there. Now, the other thing I have to do is imagine what this would look like with the jawbone added. So I already have the edges of my box. These are my widest points of the front plane. Okay, and when we start working with shadow, you'll see how I start adding shadow in here to show the taper on this side. On this side, the jawbone is going to continue to jut out a little bit because we have perspective right here. So this is going to actually drop lower. And essentially, our jaw, I'll put a little U shape in here to show where the jaw is. It's doing something like this. So there's an arc to that as well. Remember that is turning from side to side. And then we have all this under here, which is all bottom plane. So there's really a lot of space from the center of the mouth all the way down to, where the neck kind of joins in here. And I'm going a little bit bolder now as I start adding lines over this because I'm ready to really define the features a bit more. Now, even the nose, because it is adhering to the tooth cylinder a little bit, there's a slight arc through that. So I want to be careful I don't make that perfectly straight. Everything right here is arcing and turning around the face. Think of that, the convexity of the head. And the eyes as well. Like we can start to slowly turn this a little bit. Now, I'm really looking at the arc on each part. Like even here, this could come down probably a little more. So a little more turn right there through the mouth. And now I'm going to kind of find my eye socket. So there's this big shape, and because we're looking up at him, what's happening is there's really a lot of space from the center of the eye up to where that eyebrow I'd probably be right about here. It's really hard to see because his hair is covering it, but it would be somewhere way up here. Again, I'm following this line. So I'm connecting the dots, so to speak. And then I have this big shape right here. And I can even go ahead and draw that out a little bit more. So that's basically my eye socket. Okay, so I have the center of my eyes here. Now I want to think about the ball shape of the eye. So the eye, again, is a sphere, another sphere that we can put in here. And what you'll notice when you're looking at the longitude and latitude lines of any given part of this, they're arcing. So the eyeball, if we imagine the whole ball shape, so I'm imagining, as though the cheekbone is not covering it. The cheekbone would be somewhere in here covering that. But if I just draw through the form and imagine the roundness of that, what I can start to think about now is this curvature, right? This is my longitude line and then my latitude line, right? So that's curved form. What I always say with anatomy or with structure, this is a little bit of anatomy, but it's also very based on just finding the larger structures of the face. Use that in a way that you feel is best going to fit your work. So some people like to really go really far with this and do lots of mapping of lines and have lines drawn out. Other people, maybe they just want a suggestion of it, so they'll just add a few of the more important landmarks and then they'll improvise with the rest. So it's based on what your desire is. And as a study, it's great. Like I could do very elaborate studies like this just to kind of figure out my anatomical structures. Would I do it in a finished painting to this level? I might, but I generally don't. Like I don't go this far with it. But I find it's just very, very helpful. And if you're trying to learn about this, I think it's very helpful too, right? Because we're trying to understand structures of the face and how that looks when it's tilted, and what exactly is happening with our center lines and our arcs and our foreshortening and all that stuff. So if we grid it out like this and we just kind of find those points based on the grid that we used and so forth, it's going to help us to understand why things look the way they do. Why do we get those distortions?
So I've just sped up the last part of this video to show how I am taking this drawing from a linear stage to a more realistic stage using tonal values. And I'm using charcoal pencils of different hardnesses and softnesses. And I'm just laying my values in, and I'm doing lots of blending with both soft and stiff bristled brushes. And I'm just adding details now to turn this into a more realistic portrait. And I just want to take these last few moments to remind you once again that you can find my courses on my website, and I offer all of this content in real time. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and also be sure to share it with your friends. I will be putting out new videos every Monday on techniques like this, so please be sure to look for those. And I'll also be providing the links for both my online school as well as my personal website in the description below. Thank you very much for watching the video, and have a great day.